The laughter started before he even touched the door handle. It was soft at first, the kind of laugh people try to hide behind their hands, but it spread quickly across the polished marble floors of the showroom like spilled champagne. Marcus Reed heard it. He paused, one hand still resting on the glass door of the Lamborghini dealership, sunlight reflecting off chrome and carbon fiber behind him. He looked down at himself. Oil-stained navy work jacket, faded jeans, steel-toe boots, the uniform of a man who worked with engines, not the kind who bought them for sport. He stepped inside anyway. The showroom was immaculate. Spotlights danced across a pearl-white Lamborghini Aventador. The air smelled faintly of leather and expensive cologne. A slim white saleswoman with sharp features and perfectly styled blonde hair approached him, her heels clicking confidently across the tile. "Sir," she said, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes, "the service entrance is around back." Marcus gave a calm nod. "I'm actually here to look at the Aventador, possibly arrange a test drive." The smile vanished. "I don't think you understand," she replied, her voice lowering but sharpening. "That vehicle starts at over $1 million. "I understand," Marcus said evenly. "I build engines, I just like to see the specs." Her eyes dropped to his jacket again. "With that oil smell on you," she laughed lightly, turning to glance at her coworkers. "The used lot down the street might be more realistic." The chuckles grew louder. Marcus didn't flinch. He had heard worse. He had grown up hearing worse. The saleswoman folded her arms. "These cars are for serious buyers. We don't allow test drives without financial verification." A tall manager in a navy suit walked over, irritation etched across his face. "Is there a problem?" "Yes," the saleswoman said sweetly. "He'd like to test drive the Aventador." The manager looked Marcus up and down, as if assessing a stain on the carpet. "Sir, we specialize in high-net-worth clients. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable elsewhere." The words weren't loud. They didn't need to be. Marcus felt the shift in the room, the unspoken assumption that he didn't belong, that he couldn't afford it, that he shouldn't even ask. He inhaled slowly. "I'm just interested in the performance specs," he repeated calmly. The manager's patience snapped. "We don't have time for this." And then from behind the counter, a younger salesman spoke. "Sir," he said carefully, stepping forward, "if you'd like, I can walk you through everything. The twin-turbo configuration is impressive. We could even schedule a private viewing." The room froze. The manager's head whipped around. "Ethan, who asked you to intervene?" The young man swallowed but didn't retreat. Every customer deserves respect. Marcus glanced at him, the only person in the building who had spoken to him like a human being. He gave a small nod. "That's all right," Marcus said quietly. "Thank you." Then he turned and walked out. The laughter resumed the second the door shut. But none of them noticed the way Marcus's expression had changed. It wasn't anger. It was decision. 3 days later, corporate headquarters sent an urgent internal memo. Executive partner visit, mandatory attendance. The dealership buzzed with tension that afternoon. The manager barked orders, making sure every surface gleamed. The saleswoman reapplied her lipstick twice. At exactly 2:00 p.m., a black Mercedes Maybach rolled into the lot. The door opened. Out stepped Marcus Reed. This time, he wore a tailored charcoal suit, custom Italian leather shoes, and a calm expression that didn't match the sudden drop in temperature inside the showroom. The same glass doors opened for him, but no one laughed. A corporate representative rushed forward. "Everyone," she announced, her voice carrying across the showroom. "This is Mr. Marcus Reed, founder of Reed Performance Engineering, and one of our largest strategic partners in the Southeast." The manager's face drained of color. Marcus walked slowly across the floor, stopping in front of the very Aventador he'd asked about days earlier. Silence wrapped around the room. He turned to the saleswoman. "When I came in last week," he began evenly, "I was told I smelled like oil." Her lips parted, but no words came. Marcus continued, "You suggested I try the used lot down the street." The manager stepped forward, panic creeping into his tone. "Mr. Reed, I assure you." Marcus raised a hand, stopping him mid-sentence. "I build performance engines that supply specialty components to your flagship racing division," he said calmly. "My company cleared $80 million in revenue last year, and I walked in here wearing the same jacket I wore when I built my first engine at 19. No one moved. I wanted to see whether your brand sells excellence," he added, "or just appearances." The saleswoman's eyes began to water. The corporate representative cleared her throat. "Mr. Reed was here to finalize a multi-million-dollar fleet purchase agreement." A collective breath left the room. Marcus's gaze shifted to Ethan, the young salesman standing nervously near the desk. "When everyone else laughed," Marcus said, "you didn't." Ethan swallowed. "I just did my job, sir." "No," Marcus corrected gently, "you did the right thing." He turned back to the representative. "I'm prepared to move forward with the partnership," Marcus said, "on one condition." The manager stiffened. "All transactions," Marcus continued, "go through Ethan, effective immediately." The corporate representative nodded without hesitation. "Understood." "And as for the rest," Marcus added, glancing at the saleswoman and manager, "I believe your internal review process will handle it appropriately." The words were calm, controlled, final. The saleswoman stepped forward, her voice shaking. "Mr. Reed, I'm sorry. I didn't mean." Marcus looked at her, not unkindly but without softness. "You didn't mean to show me who you are?" he asked quietly. She couldn't answer. Because the truth was, she had meant it. She just hadn't expected consequences. An hour later, corporate placed both the manager and the saleswoman on administrative suspension pending investigation. By the end of the week, they were terminated. Not for laughing, not for a single insult, but for violating company policy regarding discrimination and customer treatment, something that had apparently been an issue long before Marcus walked in. Meanwhile, Marcus sat with Ethan in a private office. "I'm expanding my performance division," Marcus said. "I need someone who understands both engines and integrity." Ethan blinked. "Are you offering me a job?" Marcus smiled slightly. "Sales director, 6 figures, you'd relocate to Miami." Ethan's hands trembled slightly. "Yes, sir. Call me Marcus." 2 months later, the story leaked. Not from Marcus, but from an employee who had recorded part of the original interaction on their phone. It spread online quickly, a luxury showroom laughing at a black man in a work jacket. The public response was fierce. Comment sections filled with debates. Some people defended the dealership. Others called it what it was, prejudice dressed in professionalism. Marcus refused interviews. When asked for comment, he issued only one statement: "Judge people by their character, not their clothes." One evening, Marcus returned to his original repair shop, the small garage where everything started. He walked past framed photos of engines he'd built in his 20s, awards, contracts, magazine covers. He ran his hand across the old wooden workbench. Oil stains still marked the surface. He smiled, because he never forgot where he came from. And he never forgot what it felt like to be dismissed before speaking. That day in the showroom hadn't been about a car. It had been about perception. About how quickly some people decide who belongs and who doesn't. About how confidence in a black man is often mistaken for arrogance. And how success is only respected once it's visible. Marcus looked at his reflection in the shop window. Same hands, same mind, same jacket. The only thing that changed was how they saw him. And that was the problem. So here's the real question. If Marcus had never returned in a tailored suit, would anyone have learned anything? Or would they still believe some people simply don't belong in certain rooms? Let me know what you think. If stories like this matter to you, like this video, subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Because sometimes the real luxury isn't the car. It's dignity.